It's The Fugitive, starring Harrison Ford, thriller from 1993. Let me tell you why I think this movie is great and why it still holds up. And if you're making videos or making movies, you should watch this and study it to see how it does what it does. Coming up next. The Fugitive is an absolutely sincere thriller. It's a Hitchcockian wrong man movie starring, at the time, a very famous movie star, Harrison Ford. He'd already been in, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. And he is a very earnest Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive, accused of killing his wife, falsely sentenced to death, gets to escape and then go try to solve the crime of who killed his wife while being chased by U.S. federal agents. It's a really fun movie with a lot of silent movie techniques, including basically the whole movie is a chase movie, plus a lot of silent movie acting from Harrison Ford, who has almost no dialogue here, yet conveys a lot of emotion and feeling with his acting.
When I came home, there was a man in my house. I fought with this man. He had a mechanical arm. Plastic? You find this man. You find this man.
I think the movie is nearly perfect for what it is. Now, that's a compliment, but it's also a little bit of a backhanded compliment. And one of the reasons is it's not really as rich and complex as a number of other movies I've covered on this channel. A very basic sort of thriller where a guy is trying to solve a crime. It's a bit of a detective story, but he's being chased. And I think the movie sucks at least me in and a number of viewers by having us both root for the person being chased, the Dr. Richard Kimball character. We want him to get away and to solve the crime, but also to root for the virtuous federal agents headed by Tommy Lee Jones, and there's a number of them who are trying to chase Richard Kimball. I think, at least I do, I want him, Tommy Lee Jones, to find Richard Kimball because, hey, the federal agents are kind of fun and funny in this movie, and they're virtuous. So everybody is good and virtuous in this movie. And there's a lot of, Tweety Bird, Sylvester, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner stuff in this movie that is, on the one hand, cartoonish. If you think about how Richard Kimball survives, it's kind of funny because it's very improbable. But on the other hand, this movie is dead sincere. There's no hint that it's messing around or joking around, as movies of this period could have done. This is a postmodern period where there's playfulness and, disbelief in art's relationship to reality. This movie fervently believes in the reality it's depicting, and there's a lot of realism in this movie, in spite of Richard Kimball surviving a lot of things probably most humans could not. One thing I love about this movie, and I think is great, is the editing. Absolutely amazing. Now, there are 6 editors credited with editing this movie. I'm not sure how that worked behind the scenes, but the final product is a number of great chase scenes in which viewers, it's very clear to us what the geography of the scene is, which is incredibly important for all chase scenes, for us to know where the characters are and where they could go, and how one could escape from another one. But there are also scenes of disorientation and confusion, so the editors clearly knew when they wanted to show you the geography and when they didn't. As in the parade scene when Tommy Lee Jones is searching for Harrison Ford's character in the parade, and Harrison Ford is, ditching him and trying to evade him. It's a really interesting way of shooting Tommy Lee Jones's character being disoriented as he goes through the parade. One thing interesting to me as I was rewatching this movie, remembering as a little kid this period of time, the late 80s, early 1990s, is there was a TV show called Rescue 911 with William Shatner, a very popular show for a couple of years, which documented actual 911 cases in the United States. Of course, 911 is the number in the U.S. you call if you have an emergency. And in the movie, The Fugitive, the wife calls 911. You see her dial it as she's being attacked by the one-armed man in order to, get rescuers or police out to her house. Well, The Fugitive shows the case of a failed 911 call. In fact, that's what indicts and gets Richard Kimball sentenced to lethal injection, is that the wife says his name during the 911 call and sort of indirectly or inadvertently falsely accuses him of the crime. And that's, in a way, what I'm telling you is that The Fugitive is one long extended Rescue 911 case appended to a Hitchcockian, one of those basic Hitchcockian stories of a man who is totally innocent of everything, being attacked, accused, chased, and he doesn't know why, or in this case of the movie, he does know why, but it's fun to root for him. Of course, Hitchcock, a number of other movies do this. Hitchcock did it in 39 Steps and North by Northwest, and I think that genre needs to be revived because it's always going to work. Movie viewers can identify with Richard Kimball here, an ordinary guy. Something terrible happens to him. He's got to figure it out. You want him to get justice, and you want him to evade the law, as it were. He's a classic American rebel figure. And so I think this kind of movie, we don't see it a lot anymore. This is 2022. I don't know why, but one of these superhero movies, Marvel needs to do a wrong man movie with a superhero character. It would be a lot of fun. The federal agents in this, I don't always love to root for federal agents, but at least in terms of the film characters here, they're a lot of fun. The scriptwriter, the director, Andrew Davis, did a great job of differentiating them. Tommy Lee Jones, obviously, Oscar-worthy performance here, and it's very winsome and fun, even though you know nothing about this character other than he's witty, cool, collected, and on the task. It's a great line, obviously, in the movie, where Harrison Ford confronts him and says, "I didn't kill my wife," and Tommy Lee Jones says,
I don't care!
I want to do a little bit of analysis of the movie because it's kind of fun to think about this movie and laugh at it and the way it kind of constructs reality and makes you believe in its reality. And then you think about what happened in the movie, like, well, that's impossible or ridiculous. Of course, when Harrison Ford is in a bus and it flips over 25 times as it goes down a hill, how can any human being survive that? And he's not even wearing a seatbelt during it. So that's only one of many scenes where it's hard to believe what's happening in the movie, and yet I do, at least when I watch this movie. Anyway, in terms of analysis, it's a great moment where Harrison Ford tells the other escaped prisoner to be good as they both go their separate ways and evade the law.
I don't give a damn which way you go. Just don't follow me. You got that?
Yeah. Hey, Copeland. Be good.
This line, "be good," resonates throughout the entire movie because on the one hand, Richard Kimball wants to get away from the cops. He also needs to solve the crime of who killed his wife, but there are a couple of moments where he breaks off from both of those, risking himself getting caught in order to do, as he says, be good. So this is a virtue movie where we root for the hero who is completely virtuous, and there's nothing really bad at all about Richard Kimball at all. He's almost sinless or guiltless. And he goes and becomes an angel, saving lives. It's really fun to watch him be as good as he says other people should be. And of course, that "be good" line extends to the agents who are doing their duty by going after escaped convicts and keeping society safe. Now, in terms of analysis, and there's total spoilers here, so be warned, on the good side, if we want to just do good versus bad, a very reductive analysis, is Richard Kimball and the federal agents. Good. On the bad side are the evil pharmaceutical corporations and the doctors who will lie and defraud other people in order to earn money. I find this movie to be of its time because we're rooting for the classic individual American rebel character, Richard Kimball, also a detective or a ad hoc private detective. But as I said, I think most people are going to root for the federal agents as well to get their man, to do justice. And so two kinds of justice are being sought here. One is justice by the law, the federal agents, and the other is justice for murder, for the moral crime of the wife being killed and then a man being falsely accused of the crime. The movie absolutely shoves to the side a rich, deep conspiracy that when you think about it is extremely unlikely, or at least feels like it. And second, it's very complicated, almost too complicated for an audience to parse through, and it just puts the evil pharmaceutical company and the hiring of hitman by a doctor and all that stuff to the side, leaves it for the last, say, 20 to 30 minutes when the audience is already fully invested with the movie, and the movie explains everything very quickly. So that really, one, we don't need to think about it much. Two, there at least is a backstory. Once we think about this backstory, we say, well, evil corporations, good federal agents, good individual. Very interesting, the classic, 80s, 90s, and even up to the present day, blame it on the corporations, federal government doing its job. Great job, federal government. The movie, though, never really focuses on that sort of split between corporations and federal government, bad pharmaceutical company, good federal agents. But it's there by the end of the movie, and so it's worth noticing once you have ended the movie that the individual hero and the federal agents have teamed up. It's the individual and the government versus private evil people, corporations seeking to defraud you. Is that analysis superficial? Maybe, but it's also part and parcel of all thrillers. And you have to think of everybody as a representative type. And clearly, Richard Kimball, good doctor, versus the evil doctors who will defraud people. He's the one who will heal you. He's the one who will save your life. But there are doctors out there who are willing to kill you in order to profit. And so beware of that. The movie uses those kinds of ideas from, I suppose, contemporary culture and puts them into the movie. I do think this is basically a chase movie. I do think this is basically sort of a silent movie / cartoon, and not in a bad way, in a good way. And that's what makes it thrilling. That's what makes it a 13-year-old, 14-year-old can watch this movie and really enjoy it, because it's so utterly about one person chasing after the other and trying to root for the other one to get away. So what I'm saying is this movie should be a classic setup for future films, because this wrong person idea, being chased and pursued by gigantic forces, and your audience naturally wants to root for the wrong person, that kind of setup could go into all kinds of genres. It doesn't even matter what genre. Science fiction, fantasy, superheroes, you name it, whatever's popular, it will work very well. So I'm not sure why Hollywood and other sort of movie studios around the world haven't picked up on this more. But I think they should do one every couple of years, because I think it's going to work. Or when it's done well, at least, it will work magically, and a movie like this will last a long, long time. What do you think of The Fugitive? Does it still work? It's 30 years old almost. Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Have a great day. The Fugitive was actually based on a TV show from, I think it was the 1950s or 60s, about a one-armed man who had killed Richard Kimball's wife, and Richard Kimball has to run from justice and go find the one-armed man. And so this movie basically condenses an entire serial TV show, which is very interesting, because think about what TV shows could be made into movies, or what TV shows from 30 years ago could be made into single 2-hour movies. It's an interesting risk, and that hasn't been done very well, actually, in Hollywood's history, in my opinion. There's a lot of sort of failed movies that come from TV shows. But here, The Fugitive is a case of a movie being way better, in my opinion at least, than the TV show it's based on.